The player character always has a special stature in games. They can be abstract, a mere cipher through which the player interacts with the virtual world. And they can be complex, with backgrounds and opinions independent from the player who controls them. In recent years there has been an influx of games driven by their narrative, and it is therefore relevant to look at the player's engagement with their character, who is often also the protagonist of the story. Engagement in games can be divided into goal-related and emotional engagement. In a game like Super Mario, the player does not rescue the princess because they have any romantic feelings for her, but because the goal of the game cleverly correlates with Mario's goal of rescuing his girlfriend. What if the opposite was true? What if the player's goal of jumping their way to the end of the level was in direct conflict with the protagonist's morals? If Mario, every time you jump on a Goomba, felt devastated over the loss of life and refused to continue, and you, as the player, had to make that choice to go forward, would you still do it? Some would say the goal of the game will always triumph over the emotional engagement given through the narrative. But games like Undertale prove that notion wrong. The entire game is designed around breaking traditional RPG rules, and by giving the player narrative feedback to their actions, they provoke them into changing their behavior. This is a master's thesis project, done at Aalborg University, in which we investigate how, by using the inner thoughts of the player character, we can provoke players to make choices in the game which doesn't further their progress towards the goal of the game. In short, we want to provoke players into hindering their own goal on purpose. For this we build a prototype, Porcelain Hearts, a visual novel in which the player takes on the role of a treasure hunter. The goal of the game is simple: investigate the old mansion and take as much treasure as you possibly can. We made two versions of the game, one in which the player character does not reveal much about their alignment in the context of the choices, and then another version where they do. We give the player knowledge about their character's alignment by showing an extra piece of text right before they make a choice. This text is an inner monologue as spoken by the player character, revealing their thoughts about the choice they are about to take. Sometimes the player character will agree to further the goal of the game and take the treasure, but other times they will be conflicted and wish to leave the treasure behind. We predicted that revealing the player character's alignment will make them more emotionally engaged and empathic towards the character, and that it will change players' behavior and make them more willing to abandon treasure. The prototype consists of a game made using HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and online data collection done by PHP and a MySQL database. The game can be played directly in a participant's browser of choice, which allowed us to easily distribute the test online. Play sessions would automatically be logged to the database, complete with player actions and timestamps, so we can see the choices they made and how long it took for them to make a decision. The test ended with 467 participants, and after a long process of removing entries that could potentially harm the quality of the results, 369 samples remained. From the data it was found that in 6 out of the 10 critical choices, participants in the test group behaved significantly different to those in the control group. Even when considering the Bonferroni correction, 5 of these critical choices remain significant. For the 6 choices, participants in the test group aligned their behavior to the player character's alignment, and for 3 of these choices, participants in the test group abandoned the goal of the game to meet the emotional wishes of their character. Considering these results, we can conclude that giving the player knowledge of their character's alignment has a significant influence on the player's behavior. There is therefore good reason to believe emotional engagement can make players abandon the goal of the game.